Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar, Using Google for Education Tools to Address Assessments and the Achievement Gap at Val Verde District, sponsored by Google. Today's speakers are Stephen Fang, Phil Harding, and Matt Penner. Unfortunately, Michael McCormick, the Assistant Superintendent for Education Services in the Val Verde Unified School District, could not be with us today, and we sincerely apologize. Stephen is currently a regional manager for Google for Education and has been on the Google Enterprise Education team for 4 years. Prior to his current role, he worked with large school districts and higher education institutions nationwide to get them up and running with Google Apps for Education. He is excited to work with schools and help guide them through their technology plans and how to take advantage of the resources available on the web. Matt is the Director of Information and Instructional Technology, CCTO, for the Val Verde School District. In this role, he is passionate about building teams that thrive on exceeding expectations. Matt believes that right now is one of the most exciting and transformative eras in educational technology. Phil is a lifetime journeyman in the uses of educational technology with students and teachers in the Val Verde Unified School District. He has spent 26 years teaching from 5th grade to secondary and serving as the Technology Integration Specialist in the IT department. He raised $12 million in funds from state, federal, and corporate grants for technology to be used by students and teachers in the classroom. Before I pass things off, I'd like to mention 2 quick things. If at any time during the presentation you have questions, please post them in the Q&A panel on the lower right-hand side of your screen. Also, please be on the lookout for a follow-up email with a copy of the slides and a link to the archive to review and share with colleagues. Now, I'd like to pass things off to Stephen.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. This is Stephen from Google. Just wanted to introduce myself really quickly. So I'm one of the regional managers here at Google for Education. Work directly with school districts on their one-to-one deployments of Google technologies. I'm really happy to be here to just kind of speak about what are some of the things that Google is thinking about in education, what is really our vision, and what are we looking to do. So you'll see on the screen here 60%. And for us, this is a number that we think a lot about. You know, it's a pretty big number. And according to a lot of studies, 60% is the number of students in school right now who are going to be in jobs that don't exist yet. So part of our mission of the Google for Education team and just technology in general is to prepare students for jobs that don't exist yet, for futures that don't exist yet. And when I look about kind of my own life and my own career, you know, even just a couple of years ago, Google for Education didn't exist. Chromebooks didn't exist. Android didn't exist. So it's kind of daunting to think about what things are going to be like, you know, 20, 30 years from now when your students are looking for jobs as well and when they're kind of out in the workplace. So we're really thinking about how we're going to prepare students for jobs that don't exist yet, and what does the future really look like. And we think that with technology, things are changing pretty rapidly. You know, we can connect and engage in ways that we never thought were possible. Here on the screen, you'll see that here are a few different ways. So engaging parents who are overseas or deployed, engaging politicians through Google Hangouts, the Google Art Project, where you can go to museums around the world from your screen, connected classrooms, where you can speak with experts in different fields, once again, from your classroom. So technology is really changing the way students and teachers can engage with information. And our goal and our mission statement on the Google for Education team is using open technology to improve learning for everyone, everywhere. Once again, it's open technology and to improve learning for everyone, everywhere. And based on that, we have a few different pillars for our team. So the first is empowerment, allowing users to discover a world of resources. The second is choice, so not just being locked down into one device, but using the right device anytime, anywhere. Then teamwork. So now, no matter what the future jobs look like, we think that teamwork and collaboration are going to be crucial skills for all students. And the last is scalability. So making technology easy to deploy in the classroom, easy to deploy from the district, no matter if it's one device or 1,000 devices. Let's go through a few of these. So the first is empowerment. So we believe that access to digital content really empowers a student and gives teachers the tools for individualized learning. And what this means is, even within a class of 30 students, with the right technology, with the right tools, every student can have the exact information or the exact resource that you're trying to teach them. So that when a student comes into the classroom, they open their device, they'll have that customized, individualized learning for them. And we think that's going to be really, really important over the next couple of years. The second is choice. So not being locked down into a specific device. No matter if you're using a Chromebook, Android tablet, an iPad, iPhone, a Windows PC, you should have seamless and secure access across multiple devices. Whether they're working from school, whether they're working at home, they should always be able to access the information. And then teamwork. Students and teachers using apps for education, using Google Docs, Google Drive, should be able to work anytime, anywhere, and really fostering that idea of creativity, working as a team, and not just working in silos. And the last is scalability. So whether you're managing 4 devices or 40,000 devices, with our tools, you can manage everything from one web browser. So if you're using apps for education, you can use either the Google Control Panel or the Android Control Panel Management Console and manage all your devices from one place. That way, it really gives you time to free up your IT resources to do other value-added projects like how will I integrate technology in the classroom, how will I change the classroom to really be the best fit for my students, as opposed to spending time patching servers, running antivirus, anti-spyware, removing those tasks from the IT folks so that Google can handle them. So to that end of open technology that can help transform education, we actually have a few different products that we offer to education. So there's the base platform, which is apps for education. On top of that, we have devices, which are Chromebooks and Android tablets. And then from the devices, you can get to the content. So the content we have are YouTube, the Chrome Web Store, as well as the Play for Education store. So let me talk about each of these for a little bit. So Google Apps for Education, here are kind of our core services. So you have Google Drive, which is our suite of tools that allow you to collaborate through word processing, spreadsheet creation, creating presentations. You have your calendar. You have Gmail, which is our mail service. Google Groups, which allows you to create and work in teams, as well as Google Sites, which essentially is an easy way to create a website without any coding knowledge. So these are the core services that we offer to schools. And all these services are free. So right now we have over 30 million student teachers and staff using apps for education. And you can see a couple of key accounts here, including Brown, NYIT, Vanderbilt. 75 of the top 100 universities in the country are using apps for education. And you can also see it's not just within the US. It's also a very global product. Students in more than 180 countries are using Google Apps as well. Like I said before, it's free. Completely free. There are no hidden costs. It's free for the users you have on your domain. So on top of that, once you have that base platform, there are also specific devices that you can use. So we offer Chromebooks and tablets. So what Chromebooks are, and the way we designed Chromebooks was really thinking about education in mind. We want them to have a fast boot up time so you can get lessons faster. It should be the same experience everywhere, so no matter what device you're signing into, that'll be your same experience. Easy to share, because we know that not all districts can go to one-to-one immediately, and they should be safe and secure, so you don't have to run antivirus or anti-spyware. And now with the explosion of Chromebooks, there are a ton of devices that you can choose. So you can choose a touchscreen one, you can choose one that kind of has tablet capabilities, you can choose them from different manufacturers. No matter what Chromebook that you're picking, they all run the Chrome operating system, and you'll have the same experience across all of them. So with the Chromebook, there's also the Chrome admin console. So this is a scalable cloud-based management of Chromebooks. So this allows you to manage all the Chromebooks on your domain. You can keep them always updated, set specific proxy filters, disable certain modes like guest mode or kiosk mode, and you can also use them for testing. So it's both Park and Smart Balance compliant. I've worked with school districts on testing, and the feedback I've heard are the Chromebooks are the best device for testing right now because you can set up a row of Chromebooks. Students can come, log into their account, take their test, log out, and the next set of students can come in and log in. So it's a really seamless way to integrate testing with the devices that you have. And then you also have a wealth of content in the Chrome Web Store. So the Chrome Web Store has specific applications for video editing or games or teaching math, a ton of applications broken down by specific educational groups that you can then take and push to your students through the Chrome Management Console. We also offer Chrome App Packs. So these are popular apps by grade level that you can take a look at and download and then push off to your Chromebooks. An example that you can see by going to google.com/edu is Malaysia. So Malaysia is actually adopting Chromebooks nationwide. So they've rolled out apps for education to over 11 million users. And right now they have 100,000 Chromebooks and are constantly rolling out more. So they're an example of a country that's doing a larger wide rollout to standardize technology across their nation. So beyond Chromebooks, if you're looking at tablets, we also offer tablets. So I think this is right now a really exciting time for tablets. So we've designed tablets with Google Play for Education to really be made for the classroom. And the core functionality we have for Play for Education and tablets is making it easy to deploy tablets, discover content, and then deliver content to those students. So we also have lots of different tablets for you to choose from. Once again, same concept as Chromebooks, where it's the same experience of a tablet, they're just different sizes, speeds, price points, really letting school districts be the ultimate choosers for what they want. So there's a Nexus 7 tablet, there's a Samsung tablet, Asus, HP, and over time we're just going to see more tablets available in the market. The great thing about these tablets, as opposed to some of the other tablets in the market, is it's really easy to set up. So you set up one master tablet, and then you tap all the other tablets and roll them into your domain. And once they're rolled in your domain, same as the Chromebooks, same as your apps for education, you can manage all the settings from one control panel. So that makes it a lot easier to set up as opposed to different methods such as getting another MDM or having to plug in every device. And then from there, teachers have the flexibility to differentiate. So you can push out specific applications to specific users. That way, specific users will have the exact content that you want them to have. And they'll have the right tools for learning, as opposed to a one-size-fits-all model. It also keeps that workflow simple. So you can do purchases through PO, you can reassign apps, uninstall apps, and then share licenses with different teachers, with other students. So we're really thinking about the education market in mind as we're designing this Play for Education Chrome Web Store functionality. And there's thousands of educator-approved apps. So the Play for Education store, we work with a third party called Q, where they look at the different apps in the marketplace, and then they approve apps for the Play for Education store. That way, if you're looking at specific content, let's say I want a specific math app for 3rd grade, you can go to the store, check for math, check for 3rd grade, and then it'll give you the apps that you should be looking at. And then you can test them out. So you can get one app for your tablet, take a look at it, and then if you like it, you can then push it out to your specific students. You can also find lessons. So browsing by subject and grade level, browsing by classroom activity, browsing by education standard. We're constantly improving this, and we really want to make this the go-to place for your teachers to find content for their students. We also integrate Google Books now, so you can rent K-12 books from classic literature to recent textbooks, and we're constantly, once again, adding more content, more books, more textbooks, really making it easy for teachers to find that content and then push it out to students, and really create that individualized learning model. It also incorporates YouTube EDU as well. So not only do you have apps available, you have books available, and you also have YouTube videos available, all through one place. So now I'd like to kind of turn it over to Val Verde for them to talk about their experience with Google products, and really what their journey has been like. So Matt and Phil, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thanks. Hi, this is Matt Penner. We are really excited to be here. Phil is joining me. We do apologize for our boss, Mike McCormick, the Assistant Superintendent of Education Services, for not being here. He definitely wanted to be here, and unfortunately at last minute realized there was a conflict, but he is actually at the National Forum Schools to Watch conference in Washington, D.C., where he is presenting on what we are doing, pretty much a lot of the same topic that we're presenting here, so he is definitely in good hands, hopefully rubbing elbows with our president and everything. So we'll go ahead and go on from here. I'll let Phil kind of take it away.
Hi, I'm Phil Harding. I'm the Technology Integration Specialist in the department. I've been part of the Val Verde District for 25 years as a teacher. And like I said, I've been on a journey with technology. And one of the things we want to talk about today in talking about Google Apps in education, and why you should be doing it too, is talking about goals. And we all have the same goals. But one of the things about setting our goals, we had to leverage our funding from all kinds of different sources. We were lucky to have in our community a great support for a general obligation bond that passed overwhelmingly on behalf of the students. And we also have one-time funds from the state for getting ready for the SBAC, and we deployed those funds as well. We also had, unique to the state of California, is they had a settlement with Microsoft that gave us a certain amount of money to deploy as we see fit to use on technology and technology integration. We see technology as like what we like to think as powering up instruction, that it enhances and helps our teachers do things they normally cannot do. Also that it increases student achievement, because that's what we're all here on this webinar wanting to do, is we want the best for our students. Here was our challenges. Challenges is the same challenges I'm sure you all face. Communication between our divisions. Making sure we built the highway first. Do you have the infrastructure to add all these devices that's going to be required by the park or the SBAC? Understanding what is your educational purpose once you get those devices in the hands of students and teachers. And also, what about the support? We're always alarmed when we talk to other districts about where they're at on these different issues. But I think one key issue that needs to be solved in education is this simple one: balance. One of the things that happened with our IT department 3 years ago is we got put into the Ed Services department. We had originally been part, when I first started in IT back in '97, we were part of the Business Services department. If you think about where we were in the late 1990s with technology, we only maybe had a handful of projectors out there. All the teachers had a teacher computer that was used for maybe grades or producing Word documents to, produce handouts and so on for the students. Or we were probably doing some limited research, via internet, or taking the students to the computer lab to do everything. But that has now changed with the era of mobile devices. And I think it really helps us being part of Ed Services, because the technology has now moved from being a backbone support structure to actually moving into the hands of the students in the classroom. And of course, our instruction is led by the power of technology, that our technology is empowering our teachers to be transparent. The technology is in the background where great teaching takes place. Matt's going to tell the story pretty soon about how we rolled out over 5,000 devices and what we saw firsthand. One of the things we saw with devices is we saw improved student engagement right away. I had many of my fellow teachers telling me, hey, Phil, the moment we got those devices, it was amazing what it did in the classroom and in the sense of engaging the students. And naturally, you also have to have the right productivity tools and make sure you provide those tools. You also need to provide tools for collaboration. That's where Google Apps is so crucial to the role of where we are going in the classroom, especially in our district. And we see collaboration not just happening in the classroom with students in a class, but it opens the walls. It allows the teacher to take students where they never could go before. Examples that I want to give you. One is Bethune Elementary School has started working with the country of Finland's education department. So here we have the kids in the desert of California talking about water supply problems with a country that has too much water. So you can imagine the power of that, of Finnish students and American students collaborating together. That's really stepping into the 21st century that a lot of our companies do every day. Other collaboration we had recently, we had a San Jose company that worked with a 5th grade class and showed them their project and said, hey, what do you think, as we're trying to target students, what do you think of this project? We'll talk more about that company later, called Guru Learning. If you've not looked them up, they're gurulearning.org. They are doing some incredible things. They're a nonprofit. You want to check them out. Creativity tools, like we said, we want to get all those tools in the hands of both our students and teachers. They're powerful apps and applications that can be used. And of course, the formative assessment piece. We have a lot of teachers that are using Edmodo and using Haiku. Haiku is a learning management system. And I expect that within the next couple of months, as Google Classroom gets rolled out, that it's going to have an enormous impact in the formative assessment tool area. All of this, of course, leads to critical thinking, which should help for preparation for SBAC and PARCC, and complete the circle back to increased engagement. But you know what? We wanted to make sure that we were on the right track, and you're going to think we're a crazy group of guys, but what we ended up doing is we wanted to make sure that we were ready for the SBAC in a way that both our students and teachers were really on track to be able to take the test. And one of the things we decided is to do our own research study, and we did. And here's some of the questions that we were trying to figure out. Are we really ready to move away from standardized testing, from where we did everything by paper and pencil, and move to the digital age where we're doing everything by computer? And we also wanted to ask a question that you hear a lot in all the media about the digital divide, because we're a poor district by far. Over 80% of our kids are on free and reduced lunch. And where we have also very high ethnic makeup in our ethnicity. So we got to ask ourselves, how do we prepare our teachers and students in order to take the SBAC? Well, we're going to talk about skills to be measured, and we brought in our consultants, and we brought in a bunch of our teachers, and here's what we came up with skills to be measured via Ed Services. We know that connected dots and lines are part of the SBAC test. We know that being able to drag and drop with computer is going to be crucial and important to taking the test. Keyboard character recognition. Do you know what keys on the keyboard to hit and when? Number pad usage. There's a couple of good number pad questions in the SBAC testing. And there's 3 types of typing skills. You're going to say, wait a minute, Phil, isn't typing typing? No, it's not. One app we use is Typing Club. You might want to check out Typing Club if you have Chromebooks or laptops. It's a really good setup to help kids from the early stages to get those keyboarding skills. But let's talk about the 3 types of typing skills. First of all, one thing on the SBAC you're going to have is guided typing, meaning replicating the text that they see, and we'll show you some examples here in a second of our study. Then there's also free typing. Free typing is where you allow some freedom in that typing. But here's the tough one that you may have not have thought about, thought to text. And we're going to talk about thought to text more here in a moment. And for our study, here was what we did when we set up the study. We want to make sure we didn't disrupt class as much as possible. We used a computer lab. We had a sampling that was representative of our district makeup. We used grades 3 through 5. We checked and selected 7 classrooms, which, as you can see, our sample was made up of 208 students. And we made sure that we had a wide ethnicity involved in the study and a wide set of different specific disabilities. How would that impact us on the SBAC? Well, here is a picture of one of the classes taking our sample test. And we did everything by a theme of a race car. So here we have the dot to dot. And then we did a drag and drop where they had to add on the car door, add on the windshield, add on the racing stripes to see, could students complete that in a normal time. Then we had a number entry question where, you had to type in 130. And then here's a fun one. We did a single character typing race. So you had to match the letter. So you had to, like on there, we have the P, you had to match the P so the car would move across the screen. And here's the guided typing we were talking about. Can you replicate this exact paragraph down below? And then we did guided passage typing, which, we were wanting them to replicate the paragraph. And we also had free thought, which, free type texting, basically thought to text. And we'll talk about that more here in detail in a moment. Now here's our data analysis. So we have 29 characters that we did the data analysis with, meaning the 26 letters of the alphabet, and we also had the period, the question mark, and the colon, or the comma. And what we were doing is you can see with the graph how many kids maybe had to make attempts for a certain key. And to show you our data analysis shows that our SCD students and our non-SCD students, there was hardly any difference. And we'll share with you in our conclusion why we think there was no difference in that analysis. So I want to show you these keyboards. Hopefully you can see the keyboard really well on your end. We used a color graph up in the corner. The more intensity, meaning the more the letter was hit, that is the letter that we were wanting them to select. So like the letter E, for example, like some of the kids were hitting F, and some of the kids were even hitting the letter key, confusing the K with the E. So another example that we included is the same thing. We wanted the letter C, and we had kids hitting D, and you can see the purple areas are some of the others that were selected by some of the students. And here's one for the comma, a common, mistake. And the same for the letter T. And here's the one that really stood out from all of them, was the question mark. Those kids were pounding that question mark to death, but not getting a question mark. That's because if you look at the faint purple over on the left-hand side, they needed to hit the shift key in order to get the question mark. And you can see by our number of hits, like over 2,100 hits happened because they were trying to figure out, hey, how do I get that question mark in that answer that I was going to give? And here's our major findings. First of all, we come to the conclusion that there is no true digital divide. That, a majority of students in this day and age know their way around a keyboard more than you think they do. They do have the initial skills of drag and drop. But here is one thing that we fell into. It was like almost a pit of surprise. And that's typing thought to text. Now, let's think about this for a moment. I imagine all the listeners on this webinar that you can think about how you used to take your notes in college. And I bet everybody wrote it down. That very few of us put it into a computer or a device. And that's the thing, is being able to transfer it, because what we were always doing, and we taught to an old model of putting everything down on paper first in pen and pencil, and then move it into a word processor. Well, the SBAC and the PARC changes all that. You're going to put it direct into a device. So I want you to think to yourselves, when was the first time you really started making that transition yourself to putting everything into a device? And of course, Tony Wagner, the great guy that wrote Creating Innovators. We have a picture of our Assistant Superintendent, Mike McCormick, with Tony. If you haven't read this book, go out and get it. He basically talks that one of the things we need to get our students ready for the 21st century is collaboration. And Google Docs is powerful tools in order to help you do that. And we have our own program in the district called Power Up with Passion and Purpose. We call it PUP for short. You can see here throughout the district, we even have one of our principals there in one of the pictures helping a student complete his college application. The Chromebooks are everywhere, meaning our students are having devices and that they can use to access our network, but you have to have the network ready. And Nolan Bushnell, if you've probably heard of him from Atari, Nolan, one of the things that he likes to say is fail early, fail often. In the old way of teaching students in standardized testing, we were not preparing them for making a mistake, or that it was okay to make a mistake, or that it was okay to keep trying. And I think this is what's going to happen with the SBAC. It's going to change that whole culture. Because you know what? Everything now is going to move to a collaborative society and a collaborative economy. And that iteration is going to be important, that we push that out into our classrooms. And of course, you know, we know that curiosity is a powerful force. And of course, our good friend, Sir Ken Robinson. I love to listen to Ken all the time. And one of the things Sir Ken Robinson is saying is that two of the most important ingredients as we move our students into the 21st century is creativity and imagination. And now I'm going to turn this over to Matt Penner. He's going to talk about how do we do all this with IT.
Hey, I'm Matt Penner. I am the Director of Technology, our department here at the district. I've been the director for a little over 2 years, and my entire life through various positions. I've been with the district for about 8-9 years now. I've had several companies in the past and also worked in other departments, and one of my goals has always been to work with other people. Honestly, in our department, playing with servers all day are things that we can eat and do, and we are techie people, but unless we're actually providing a service and making our other staff members or customers, if you want to call it that, unless we're making their day and making their job easier, then we're not really doing ours. And again, playing with servers and databases and things like that is all fun, but at the end of the day, if it's not about helping other people, then it's not much of a job to want to come into every day. So I have this quote. I come up with them every once in a while. This is the one that stuck the longest, but I say, yeah, 90% of my job is dealing with people, and I'm probably lying about the other 10%. Because we've done some really large and major initiatives. One of them we're going to talk about is the deploying of all the Chromebooks. But in the end, no matter how hard it is, I always say the technology piece is the easy part. Getting the infrastructure and all that kind of stuff together is easy. Planning the money, working with people, getting the political initiative going, helping ease the fears of everything that's going on, that is definitely a people-oriented side, and that is so much a larger part of the picture that it definitely cannot be ignored. I definitely say at the bottom, we're not a technology department, we're a people department that happens to use technology, and that is definitely true. I actually kind of stole that from Starbucks. They say that we're not a coffee company, we're a people company that happens to serve coffee, and we believe that's the exact same thing. And that can probably be used in almost any department in any area that you work in. So basically, I call this IT engaged. We literally want to get engaged with everyone we work with, and it's kind of getting a play off words. We want our student engagement to increase. We want our staff engagement. We want our technology engagement. And I want my entire IT department engagement to be increased because we know the wave is coming. In fact, it's probably cresting over a lot of us right now. And so this wave of technology is definitely here. Mobile devices are in proliferation everywhere. A few years ago, definitely kids were bringing them on college campuses. Now they're trying to bring them into K-12 environments, and we're also being expected to supply them and have an infrastructure that can support it. So rather than being swept under it and figure out what to do once the states come along and maybe giving you some money and probably told you how to use it by then, we want to kind of be on top and defining where that wave goes. Because if you can be an innovator and out in front and figure out what works and what doesn't, you don't want to be so far on the bleeding edge that you're getting cut up by it. But basically, you want to be back enough that you can kind of watch those around you and work with other districts in your area and with similar restrictions and goals and kind of help the state determine where all this needs to go. Because they're going to be looking for the leaders to kind of help everyone else out. So basically, yeah, this is us. We definitely want to work with education staff to understand their vision. It's definitely a partnership, and that's one of the great things. There's a great culture around our district where our principals really kind of look to work hand in hand with our IT department, and that goes along with all our other departments as well, such as our facilities, maintenance, operation, business department. It is definitely a work in progress. Every single day we're working at how to build bridges. Some days are great, other days are not, but it's definitely a bridge that you want to keep building every single day. And so the nice thing is there's no one who dictates how things go. The principals often come to us with incredible ideas. Hey, Matt, I'd love to have my kids collaborating across classrooms or with this other school district or with this other country. How can we do that? And so we'll sit and brainstorm and come up with ideas, and then vice versa. A lot of times we'll see what a lot of different schools are doing, and then we'll pull several principals together and say, hey, we noticed that you guys are all working towards the same vision. Let's kind of help you guys out with some amazing products and devices and technologies that we see that are coming out on the horizon. So definitely there's the hardware side. We had to build a high-quality wireless network, as we've talked about. We've had to definitely identify devices that meet site needs, and so they don't really get a chance to go out and buy anything under the sun. They have to okay it through us. But again, it's a partnership. So a lot of times we have principals come straight to Phil and I and say, hey, what should I buy? And we say, no, that's the wrong question. You got to turn it around. Tell us what you want to do, and then we'll help you to identify some devices that will definitely help that while still being manageable within our infrastructure. I'll go on a little later showing what kind of staff we have, but we have a limited staff just like everyone else, limited funding. And like most IT departments out there, the number of devices we've had to support has probably quadrupled just in the last 12 months alone. And my staff has not increased by one person. So we got to figure out how to do that in a way that helps everyone else. And then definitely, we have some goals here. We wanted to get them in the hands of students long before testing. One of the hardest things with testing, fortunately this year, was, you know, intro, a test year, a year that we were testing the test. But one of the worst things that I've wanted to stay away from is handing a kid a brand new device right before a test because you get some money that's allocated or some initiatives are pulled. And the whole point often is talked about we need to get enough devices for testing. Well, it's not a device that's there just for testing. It's a device that's there to be used in the classroom on a day-to-day basis in collaboration with everything they're doing. And, oh, by the way, it can also be used for testing. So we needed to kind of dismiss the fear that teachers might have, the principals might have, and definitely the students, and make this as smooth as possible. So our goal and what really pushed this was we wanted to get the devices in the hands of the kids by February, if at all possible, and they weren't going. Our testing window didn't start till April. So that gave about a month or two for the teachers to kind of get familiar with it, the kids to get familiar with it, so that when it came down to testing, all the little issues of how do you log in, what if my battery dies, how do you change the volume, or do you put the headphones, things like that, we're pretty much all old news by then. And then from then on, we definitely want to facilitate ongoing staff development. Staff development is always a challenge in any school district. I think getting time and everyone together, getting staff development and training that's engaging and relevant is always an issue, and I would say that's definitely something that's always done throughout the year. Seems like every year we're coming up with new ideas on how to do it, but that is something that's not a one-time option, and it's definitely something that needs to be considered. Again, a lot of money is put out there through bonds or grant monies or anything like that, and so much of it is geared towards simply buying devices, and little is put towards training. And our district is definitely guilty of that. In past years, we put out a lot of great technology. 6 months later, you find out hardly anyone's using it because no one was ever trained on how to use it. So that's definitely a heart of ours. So basically, what have we done in the past? There's a lot of initiatives going on, but we're going to go ahead and focus on this one right now. Basically, for not just SBAC testing, but a lot of stuff that we're trying to do that was nicely driven by SBAC testing was the need to increase the number of devices that we had. So you can see up there, we actually, the 800 VDI machines, those are all our computer labs. Within about a year, we transitioned all 25, 28 computer labs over to virtual desktop. The reason we did that is some of them had old machines that were pretty much breaking down all the time. Others had machines that were still viable but could be better used in a different environment. Also, again, we have limited staff, and so we needed the virtual desktop solution. They're thin clients, no moving parts. We've got a lot of the investment built into our data center. So basically allows us to now have 28 labs where we don't have to worry about power supplies breaking down, hard drives crashing, things like that. It really allowed us to minimize the maintenance that's required for those. We also increased, purchased about another 4,500 Chromebooks. And you can see in about 3 weeks, we rolled all that out, and we're going to talk about how that happened. And in addition, we're planning on adding another 1,250 iPads. I will be happy to say in this webinar, that was the initial plan 6 months ago. And again, we're always reevaluating and seeing what's on the horizon and working with our staff and even our students. And what's really interesting is we've had a lot of staff, after having the Chromebooks, we've had a lot of staff, even principals, saying, hey, we don't really want iPads for all of our lower grades. The iPads are targeted for transitional kindergarten, first and second grade. We've had a lot of principals asking for Chromebooks for second grade. And now we are definitely really interested in everything that Steve talked about and Google's been talking about with the Google tablets. And we're really interested in seeing that. So in less than a week, actually the end of this week, Phil and I will both be in Atlanta, Georgia, attending the ISTE conference. And one of our goals there is to really identify 2 or 3 models of Google tablets that we can get a few demos on or even purchase a few on. And we'll probably roll out, maybe 5 or 10 carts to various size of tablets and see how they work in the field. And we've already asked our principals about this because, as some people know, when you sell an iPad, they want an iPad. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it has an Apple logo on it, they don't want to see anything else. Well, again, we've got a great partnership with our staff, and they are completely open to this. In fact, they're even encouraging it because they know that the maintenance cost and even the financial cost of a Google tablet tends to compare favorably to an iPad. And so if they can hear that they can get more devices in their students' hands faster, that can be easily managed by their own teaching staff rather than having to wait for IT or other complicated rollouts, they are very, very excited about that. So that 1,250 down there for iPads is definitely going to change. We're not sure by what, but we're excited to see how. So now we say there was a 3-week rollout. That's actually kind of a misnomer, only because, again, the technology side is the easy side. That 3-week rollout is literally, we had about 4,500 Chromebooks shipped to us from CDW over a 3-week period where we literally got 800 every day into our IT department. And we would configure them, put the Chromebooks in the carts, and have them shipped out. It was a well-oiled machine. It definitely took a lot of initiative and a lot of collaboration with our various departments. But from the first day, it was 3 weeks to have all 4,500 Chromebooks at their sites. Now, this is a little hard to see, but you can see it's actually a much longer project than that because it dealt with logistics, obviously the finances, working with our partners. Definitely work with your vendors. I think I've got another slide on that. So definitely invest in professional services if you have time. Our IT department is very capable, and we like doing a lot of things in-house, but when you're talking about numbers like this, there just was not an option for us to wire all those cards and image them all ourselves. If you're familiar with Chromebooks at all, you probably know about a white glove service where they attach it to your network, it downloads all the settings, and so basically when we pull it out of the box, it's ready to go. That's actually me standing at CDW's warehouse up in Las Vegas, and those are our Chromebooks they're setting up. It just happened to be that we were at CES and they happened to be working on our order at that time, so it was fun to take a picture. But that is them setting everything up, and that was CDW's involvement. There was a lot of great partners out there, but it was crucial to our rollout. And I even approached my assistant, Mike, with the financial cost analysis of this. And this is the way you sell things. But basically I said, sure, we can do it ourselves, and yes, you will save money. However, I've only got 3 techs, which we'll talk about later. And if I were to dedicate just 1 tech to doing all of our Chromebooks, he would have to work for 3 months nonstop, no sick leave, and no vacation. And during the holiday break, that just simply wasn't going to happen. I would have to dedicate another tech for 2 months to do all of our VDI labs, and that, again, wasn't going to happen. And that left 1 tech who, again, couldn't take any sick leave or vacation to handle the entire district's duties. And so that helped the selling point, and it was definitely well worth the money to get the timeline that we were looking for. This is our department. I'll go through this fairly quick. But basically, this is us. You can see we've got about 15 people. The other 2 that you don't see is myself and my secretary. The yellow people on the left, application services, they handle a lot of our student information system development databases and things like that. So they are an awesome team, but they were not a part of this rollout, really. Our network services staff, they're in the middle. They handle our servers, our network infrastructure, things like that. They were definitely crucial, but again, we only have 3 techs in that group that actually do the hardware and servicing of all our 22 school sites. On the right-hand side, we have Ed Tech. You see there's a 1 there. That's Phil. Phil is a teacher. He's actually in our IT department. And that is a crucial involvement with our department that really helps us work with our teaching staff much better. There are 27 other what we call teacher techs, and I'll leave that to Phil to kind of talk about here in a second. Phil's going to talk about this, but one thing I wanted to mention is I didn't have any pictures in this presentation, but when the Chromebooks, when they ship them out, they get them all set up, but you can't ship them in the carts because they'll rattle to death, they'll chip and crack and things like that in shipping. So they sent them in boxes, and so that's why it really required a lot of logistics, but it was kind of fun because every time a truck pulled up, everyone heard the beeping as it was backing up onto our campus, and I kind of threw out the line, hey, who wants to come help cart Chromebooks? And usually a couple developers, they'd need a mental break, they'd come. One of our help desk staff, he needed a mental break, he'd come. And it was kind of a little mini party. We'd have drinks and stuff, sodas and water, and then we would spend about an hour unboxing 400 Chromebooks, sticking them in the cart, locking them up, setting the locks, setting them off to the side, and then they were all set to go within 2 hours for the warehouse truck when it came back a few hours later. Definitely involve your team. It makes it a lot of fun. It is a lot of hard work, but it's amazing what you see when you're out in the site. And I'm going to let Phil jump on here in a second, but a couple things. The engagement of the devices is just amazing. I've taken my staff to actually go see the devices in use. Occasionally, one of our elementary sites will have a neat little STEM fair, and if you can get your staff or whoever to see that, when you see the kids using this stuff in the amazing ways that they're doing it, it really adds a whole inspiration and a good solid foundation onto why we all show up every day. It was amazing when we were doing a tour with another company that came and visited us, and the teacher just happened to go off book, if you want to call it that, and said, you know what, we've got visitors, who wants to show something? And 20 hands leapt in the air within an instant. I could not believe it. I've never been in a classroom in all of my education where 20 hands would go up wanting to show their work. And the reason is the kids are really excited about what they're doing. They're excited about the devices. They're excited about the collaboration. And we've seen a lot of extra incredible things like discipline rates have gone down, tardiness has gone down, absenteeism has gone down. Now, we're not saying this is all just because of Google and the Chromebooks, but when the kids are really excited about being in class and showing up and learning, it really makes a huge impact in so many areas that it's just really amazing to see.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, to hook into what Matt is talking about, when we got the first giant wave of Chromebooks of 5,000 of them out into our different sites, I think everybody on this webinar understands that every site is unique. Every school, elementary school, high school, middle school is unique. And what we did is we prepped the ground. We got the ground ready for the Chromebooks to arrive. Like, how are you going to share them with the teachers? Or where are you going to put the carts? What kind of checkout procedures are you going to follow? What are the rules you're going to have for both students and teachers in utilizing the equipment that's being provided? One of the things we did was safety procedures. Matt and I didn't want to be the IT department with 700 broken Chromebooks. What we did was we made a fun video. One of our teacher techs developed a fun video for the elementary level, and teachers all played it to their students before they could use the Chromebooks. And we've had almost nil damage done to the Chromebooks. It's amazing. We've had more cart problems than we've had Chromebook problems. In fact, then the whole thing is maximum impact on students. If the grade levels plan and use their PLC time to plan, how are we going to use these Chromebooks together to reach a certain goal? You're going to see tremendous results like Matt was talking about as we took our IT staff around. We've also had visits from many other districts that wanted to go around and just see what's going on in our classrooms. We did a kickoff at every site before. We gave them the Chromebooks. Matt and I went and did a talk and training about not only Google Drive, but to get everybody excited about the possibilities of Google Apps in education. And of course, you all know that team is a four-letter word. You got a plan. And I want to talk about my superheroes for a moment. I couldn't do this possible with 20,000 students and 800 teachers by myself. How do I get that done? I get that done through what's called teacher techs. This year we're expanding the program. We're going to have 2 at every school site and district. So pretty soon I'm going to have 42 teacher techs running around. Right now I'm getting the job done with 28. They're paid a stipend. I usually have 2 at a site. They also do all the site training, meaning I am no longer having to go to every site to do the training. I now have all the training by teachers by training model that my techs can do the same training I can do here in IT Central. They have superpowers. We give them enhanced account privileges. We let them support everything across the board. They are our partners. They are our eyes and ears at the site. They consider themselves as part of an adjunct to the IT department. They are a support on the ground from the smallest issue to the largest issue. That's how we've been able to be very effective at the school site. But let's talk about training and professional development in a little more depth. One thing I think is going on is what's called TOD. What I mean by training on device. If you haven't checked out this company called Synergize, do so. Synergize works inside your Chrome browser. It's very easy to deploy. It took Matt and I only 5 minutes to push it out to our site. Synergize are tiny little videos that can show you how to do certain things with different Google applications and Google Drive. My teacher techs are saying, Phil, I'm getting tired of saying the same thing over 4 or 5 times a day to different teachers on the same question. Instead, now we bring the training directly to the teacher anytime, anywhere on a selected device. And I think that's one of the ways it's going to go in the future. We did a Tech Fest. We hold a giant conference where the teacher techs and myself and teachers who volunteer, we put on this big technology conference on a Saturday at one of our high schools. And we covered a lot of different topics in technology, and it was very successful this year. It creates a better beehive, as I call it. It creates a lot of buzz. We also use a lot of small groups and PLC time. I am so done with 40 people in a computer lab. I just don't think that's as effective in staff and staff development as when you get 10 people together or 5 people at a table. One of the things that was really cool is we started doing something called Appy Hour at all the school sites we're going around, and we put out a little buffet of food. No drinks though, but just a buffet of food, and we have an Appy Hour where afterwards we have several tech sessions that go on a variety of topics. We're also looking into doing Tech Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I do summer training as well. I never go home, I just do summer training, and one of the things about summer training is this: it's more specialized. I mean, I'll have a group of math teachers approach me and say, Phil, how about training on this particular thing we want to use? So we do customized staff development instead of the broader sense of saying, this is how you do Google Docs. We've moved beyond that. And we're so proud and happy to present and tell you our story today.
Now we're going to go ahead and pass it back off. Thank you so much for your time. I think there's a Q&A portion after this that we'd be happy to answer any questions along. I'm sure Google would too.
Thank you very much, Stephen, Matt, and Phil. That was an excellent presentation, very informative. We have some time for a couple questions from the audience. So the first question we have is for Stephen. Stephen, do you require your teachers to become Google educators as part of the implementation process?
Not at all. So teachers do not have to be Google educators, but we do provide free online training. So if you go to google.com/edu/training, you'll see our online modules as well as how to become a certified trainer, but it is not required.
Okay. The next question is for Phil. Phil, how much and what kind of teacher professional development was required to build confidence?
You know, it builds on its own. It's amazing. If you give a teacher a tool, and especially tools that they haven't had before, they begin to learn from each other, I found. And also the students will also start driving a lot of the use of the Chromebooks. When you get them into a classroom, it's amazing to see, as we've prepped the ground, like I said, we've done a lot of pre-training and so on. But it comes back to the colleagues at that grade level sharing, hey, I did this and this was very effective. And where they build a certain unit together and they say, we're going to use these resources. That's why I like, you heard me mention earlier, gurulearning.org. If you haven't checked that out, I would greatly say take your time and look up that resource. It allows teams of your teachers to actually build some very effective modules that they can use in curriculum.
And just to dovetail on that, this is Matt. I wanted to make sure the IT department wasn't the one kind of spearheading and doing the actual training. We obviously provide guidance and stuff, but I am not a teacher. And so I won't presume to stand in front of 30 teachers and teach them how I think Google Docs should be ran. What is so much more powerful is their colleagues showing them. Because I can show something brand new that could really cause a lot of anxiety, and they can say, hey, Matt, when's the last time you had to stand in front of 30 kids and do that? So having an English teacher showing other English teachers ways they've used Google Docs on projects and assignments is amazing. Having a chemistry teacher showing how they're using their document camera to other chemistry teachers is absolutely amazing. And it really, it's not just teaching, but it, like the confidence you said, when they see their own peers doing some amazing stuff, it not only instills confidence, but it breeds a sense of creativity and inspiration that they start going up and doing other amazing things.
Thanks, Matt. The next question is for you. Do you have any suggestions for creative professional development for staff?
It depends on what you mean by staff. So we've played with a lot of ideas. It's funny because there's about 3 generations of staff, and I don't mean age-wise, because one of our most incredible teachers is also our senior teacher on our list. He's been in the district for over 30 years, and he's using iPads and cards with the best of them. So I don't think age is a factor. But we still have some classic traditional teachers who say, you know what, pay me a day, stick me in a room, and I'm not learning unless I'm getting paid and I've got a manual in front of me. And then on the other extreme, we've got some other teachers who basically say, you know what, I learn great with videos, I want to do it on my own, give me a Chromebook, I can sit in with my colleagues.
I was talking about support staff too.
Our support staff too, yeah. And as far as IT staff, we're kind of learning every single day on the job, and so occasionally we'll show each other. We've got a weekly staff meeting. We'll show each other what's going on. But again, we try to. It's a lot of word of mouth and working with each other. We don't really have professional development for IT staff in that type of sense. I kind of feel like it's some every day. Our own staff attend conferences that are relevant to their workload, obviously as time and funding permits. But it's across the board, and we explore a lot of different options, whether it's customized training in-house in a lab, teachers training each other, teachers, staff training other staff, or even online videos and content.
Okay. Stephen, the next question is for you. What can we do for schools which block YouTube? Is SchoolTube a Google product?
I've never heard of SchoolTube. SchoolTube is not a Google product. You can look at YouTube for EDU. So YouTube EDU, that's one way to still use YouTube. But SchoolTube is not a Google product.
Okay. We have another question for you, Stephen. Will Google Classroom support international language fonts, or is there another way to add a language font not commonly used?
So if it's not available now, that's definitely the plan. So Google Classroom, as many of you may or may not know, it is a new core application we're adding to the Google suite of tools. It's a classroom management system that we're adding. It's currently being tested among a few users, and we're looking to wider the expansion over the next couple of months. So right now, if there's no international fonts, that is the plan, but I don't have any definite timeline for when that's going to be available.
Okay. Phil, I have a question for you from the audience. The question is, I have 17 Chromebook computers in my classroom. We have purchased 10 more for other classrooms, and our principal will buy more if we have teachers interested in using them. Do you have any suggestions on how we can encourage others to use them?
And if they mean by others, meaning teachers to use them with their students, one of the most effective ways to do that, and that's being done at a couple of our schools, Columbia comes to mind, also Victoriano, is what they did is they actually took, we have what's called a minimum day almost every Wednesday where, you know, the students are only there half a day. And what's effective is bringing those teachers in that want to know how to use those Chromebooks in and show them and walk them through a class-type simulation. We also had at one of the sites where the principal got release time for people who were willing to expand upon a project, go into those teachers' classrooms like Doug Woods we were talking about, I'm also thinking of Marcela Gomez or Chris Parsons, where the teacher goes in and actually becomes like a visitor in that classroom for a couple hours to get an idea of, oh, hey, this is how they're using those Chromebooks to, engage the students and to do certain projects.
Okay. Stephen, I have another question. Could you maybe touch on some of the benefits of becoming a Google educator, and what is the target audience to become a Google educator?
Good question. So I would say the target audience for Google Educator is your really tech-savvy folks within your district who can then help teach other teachers, other staff, other students how to use Google tools. That's kind of really the ideal audience. I would say the people who are managing your domain, it would be beneficial for them to go through the training as well. That way they kind of really understand how the tools work and how to use the tools. But typically we see school districts will have a lot of different teachers who are certified trainers so that they can really work within the school district to teach other teachers and other staff how to use Google tools.
All right, thank you. And with that, we will conclude this webinar presentation. I'd like to thank again so very much our panelists and the audience for joining us. This was an excellent presentation. And for those who tuned in a little bit after my opening remarks, please be on the lookout for a follow-up email with a copy of the slides and a link to the archive to review so you can share with colleagues. And with that, thank you all again so very much.